As we mentioned earlier, the sugarcane crop is all that's left to be harvested as the 2013 crop year draws to a close. Many cane growers hope to wrap up the harvest by the end of the year, and a few may go into the first week of January.
And it was also a pretty good year for Louisiana farmers across the board. While commodity prices were down again in 2013, farmers made up for it with bumper crops. Cotton yields, corn yields, and soybean yields were all at or above record levels. And if the weather cooperates over the next 3 weeks, cane growers could also see some record crops.
You know, farmers had a busy year both at home and in Washington in 2013. In March, a group of young farmers met with the state's congressional delegation about the need for a new farm bill. Of course, that issue has yet to be resolved, but one of the other reasons those young farmers went to Washington was to impress upon lawmakers the need to craft legislation that would help them stay in business.
And over the summer, grain farmers across South Louisiana got a boost with the opening of the new Louis Dreyfus Commodities grain elevator at the Port of Greater Baton Rouge. The $150 million facility is now open for business, and farmers will be able to take advantage of quicker unloading times, getting their crops out of the field faster. Louisiana will also become a bigger player in the global grain markets because the new docks at the Dreyfus facility can now load Panamax vessels, which can ship grain around the world.
Well, then there was our TWILA Reporting for Duty series, where each of us spent a day working on a farm. Mike planted sugarcane by hand, Avery milked goats, and Neil rounded up cattle, although he didn't do a very good job of it. And AJ, I guess you could say, rounded up bees and got stung by one.
He did. And of course, Taylor Fry spent a day on a hog farm while you worked at your family's poultry operation. Our viewers wrote in about those stories, many telling us that they took away a better understanding of what goes on day to day on Louisiana's farms and ranches. For us here at TWILA, it was quite eye-opening. Usually we just show up for the interview, talk to the farmer, and then we leave. We don't see the other 12 hours of the day that goes into the work that those guys have to put in, day out, to put food on our table.
And you know, while the Farm Bill remains in limbo, as it did for all of 2013, the biggest news story of this year that we covered at TWILA obviously didn't happen in Louisiana at all. It happened in South Dakota.
That is right, Kristen. On October 4th, the largest snowstorm recorded in more than 100 years struck the western part of South Dakota. We at TWILA were on our way to Faulkton, South Dakota to profile the town as part of our This Week in Your Town series. Avery Davidson and I traveled to the western part of the state on October 12th, and what we saw there was one of the most tragic things that I have seen in nearly 30 years as a farm broadcaster. Officials had originally estimated the losses of cattle at more than 80,000 head as a result of that snowstorm, but the actual numbers were actually closer to about 30,000 head of cattle.
They're more just cows, the cattle that are dead. Their hopes and dreams were hard work.
Since Avery's story aired back in October, the South Dakota Rancher Relief Fund has received donations of more than 500 head of replacement heifers, as well as more than $1.5 million in cash donations. And that has gone a long way to help those South Dakota cattlemen trying to get their feet back on the ground economically as they head into the brutal winters that they have there.
And we think it's cold here, but in fact, this weekend in Faulkton, South Dakota, the high will be 7 and the low will be 18 below. And it is not going to be that nearly as cold in Holly Clegg's trim and terrific kitchen because it's always warm there. And how about a tasty chili and rice salad for Christmas? Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Chili, Christmas? Trust me, this is going to be a dish you're going to love. Holly and AJ on deck when we come back.